normal bruiser boards into those 4 and 5 costs that really will end up winning you games.
Yeah, and as we're getting onto our first round of this game here, we got Mandu on screen, chat, but I want to ask you, Panda, right? So, day one, you can afford to kind of maybe play some compositions that are a little bit like riskier. You don't really need to play for first in day one. You just need to get, be in the top 64 of all finishers, and you're fine. So you can play some contested compositions. You can even play, some kind of curveballs. We saw Zarya coming into things. We saw some of the legend compositions as well. But strategically, today, are you playing for first or eighth? Are you playing top 4? Do you try and play contested compositions, or do you try and go for these more unique compositions because you know it's going to be less contested, and maybe you could even just make that top 4 even if you don't get first?
I think it's not so much the case like set 6 where you really had that very clear first-rate playstyle with like Mercenaries, for example. I think it's more the case of playing for a top 4, playing the comp you're comfortable with, the top comps, but then knowing how to transition, how to cap out those boards, and how to, in stage 5, really go to level 9, find the Shyvana 2-star, find the Yasuo 2-star, all these kind of very versatile legendaries you can just slot into any comp to make it better. Find the Sorakas, for example, and win out that way. I was seeing some of the Chinese comps and the Chinese tournaments being played as well. There was some boards that were just like 3 Sorakas, 2 Yasuos, and a Shyvana, and they were getting first in some lobbies because that's how strong 5 costs are, and that's what players really have to look for going to stage 5 and 6 if they want to keep kind of accelerating the pace of the lobby.
Yeah, and we saw those lessons from Kaiser yesterday, as we're mentioning, but we've now got our first augment round. So, Mirage Crest, we know Mirage did quite well yesterday, but right now Mandu is sitting with this trainer Cannoneer kind of angle in these early stages of this game. Do you have any thoughts on what Mandu might go for here?
Crush is the maybe more versatile one, but it depends because it locks you into a direction right away, and you might get griefed by 3 other players deciding to go Mirage, for example. Phony frontline is okay. You have the idea for a trainer frontline, which trainer doesn't really give you any frontline. Namzi isn't really a tank. It's more of a caster that can be a tank once it scales into the late game at the 3 or 4 cost version of it. But for now, Phony frontline is the option here. It lets you greed and play 3 trainer earlier, kind of not really having to play a frontline or not having to play maybe 2 bruisers, maybe just the 1 Tom Kench will do once you do find it. But I think that's the more generic option. Reroll was an option there, I think, but ends up trying to save that for later.
Yeah, I was going to mention the reroll. I mean, we do have a gold augment first round, so sometimes that reroll can be quite valuable going in there. But I think Phony frontline is quite good. You can see it coming into good use here against Kaiser, where the backline, the Karma, the Anivia are just focusing those turrets down when they should be attacking this. Well, it's a 1-star Tristana, not got too much firepower in the tank at the moment. So Kaiser does still take that, but that'll scale up and be a sufficient frontline, hopefully, for Mandu in the early and mid.
And that's a very strong set of upgrades here now. All 2-star board. Going to be able to hopefully get in a little bit more frontline, considering now you have definitely more than enough damage, even without these units itemized. Just having them 2-stars, especially Tristana, is going to be one of the great DPS units all throughout stages 2 and 3, and then ideally at 4, you can move into Corki instead. We saw Kaiser's board there very quickly. He had already a Shiv slammed and an Anivia with Jewel Lotus, so going to be a great Jade start for him as well. And I assume he will, as long as he finds some upgrades and a good frontline, also be win streaking throughout this lobby. But change of positioning here from Mandu down to the left side of the board, now getting the perfect diagonal. I guess pretty mirrored boards here with very similar comps on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the set as well for Jedusor here, which is... we've seen that set reroll, I think, in one of the lobbies, or maybe it was in some of the Chinese competitions, like set reroll actually coming into play. So it's something that's very strong early, but not strong enough to deal with Mandu's 2-star Tristana.
And just barely able to get this win here from Mandu. Hasn't leveled yet, still level 3. Maybe hoping for some more 1-cost odds for now. We're now jumping onto Qetzer's board, or never mind, this is annieconda instead, the Turkish player. And he is playing a Jade angle as well. So that has now 2 players that are going for a Jade start here throughout stage 2. annieconda, and we saw before Kaiser as well that had already the Anivia and the Shiv slammed on the Karma.
Yeah, and look at that. annieconda wearing a mask even in this selfie, staying safe even in this lobby. You gotta be social distancing in this lobby. You want to keep everybody away from your backline. And that's exactly what they're going to be trying to do. Check back in with Kaiser here. We're getting to see them actually from their angle, not as the opponent this time. This time they are our hero. They have 2 2-star commas right now.
Are we going to see a Karma reroll game? We saw Ezreal yesterday with one of the Turkish players in Game 5 or Game 6, I believe, having that crazy game with Ezreal, with Thrill of the Hunt, just being able to win streak for oh so long. And now maybe Karma, another unit that got buffed in the latest patch note, trying to incentivize players to try and go for the reroll strategy with her a little bit more. And Kaiser might have fallen for the bait, or might have fallen for a comp that could actually maybe top 4 if he's able to hit this Karma 3 early.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Panda, did you manage to check out what Mirage is this game? I actually didn't see it when the widget jumped up.
Dawnbringer's Determination. So a lot of healing going to come in. Nunu's, of course, going to be very, very important. We saw, yet again, this Mirage variation did do well yesterday. Overall, Mirage as a whole was very contested and performed, I think, fairly well. As long as you were able to hit your Yasuo 2 and your Deja 2 going into stage 5, that was a key factor. But really, Spellsword worked out. Dawnbringers worked out. We weren't able to see Electric Overload on stream yesterday. I would love to see that because I think having Leona as a carry is a nice change of pace compared to most Mirage comps.
Yeah, you hear that, chat? Just hit your Yas and your Deja in stage 5. It's that easy. Just hit. Be like Panda. It doesn't always work for me in my games, Panda. I don't know. I try as hard as I try. But yeah, that's definitely an angle there. We saw Dawnbringers actually being a solid choice yesterday. It's not one of those that you'd immediately, I guess, expect and go, oh, this is a Mirage game necessarily. At least for me, you know, I'm more of like, oh, I want the AP scaling when I want to go Mirage. But actually, we saw like 3 or 4 people opting for Deja when it was Dawnbringers yesterday. So clearly, the players still feel like that's a very good Mirage, choice to have.
Now 1 Karma away for Kaiser. Still has already leveled to 5. Is going to have slightly worse rolls for those natural shops with 1 cost in them, but still has a chance to find it possibly in the next few fights and still looking fairly strong. 3 win streak here right now. Lilia onto the Karma, I think won't be able to do much before she ends up dying here. And Nami as well now pretty much by her lonesome, Sejuani being taken down, and Karma going to finish things off here. Kaiser continuing his win streak, doesn't sell any of the units he has currently on the board, can't really make econ without giving up some possibilities for upgrades in the next few rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of this as well. Holding on to the Senna, holding on to the Nidalees. I mean, this seems a little bit odd in my opinion. I'm trying to think what they
just looking for better 1 cost odds. If you're able to hold these 1 costs on your bench, that means you're not going to roll into the natural shops. It's a very slight, improvement, but this is, of course, day 2 of GSC. If there's any time to be sweaty when you're playing TFT, this is the time to do it. You're trying to get everything going in your favor and just trying to get any small advantage you can.
Absolutely. And let's see if it can work for them. They're only 1 Karma off, actually, from a 3-star Karma, and they're holding off on those levels, as you mentioned. And the Jewel Lotus Karma combo, I think, is actually pretty good. I know some people itemize Karma with the IEJG, and they try and just make an absolutely blast through any opponents that they face off against. And right now, the twin Karmas are doing a very solid job. A 5 win streak going on for Kaiser right now. And this is... Kaiser's no stranger to a win streak, right, Panda? I mean, yesterday a 14 win streak, and then even went on to win streak later into stage 7 that game 4 went to. So Kaiser's definitely in a comfort zone.
The best thing about this is that he hasn't really sacrificed his game plan to try and achieve this Karma 3. Sometimes you're, lose streaking all of stage 2 to stay on level 3 to try and get the better odds. But he's playing, let's say, a pretty traditional game of TFT while still having the pretty good chance, now only 1 off of Karma, to find that upgrade and move into maybe a Jade board that just has Karma as a carry instead of a Nivea, and be able to spike as soon as he finds Nico and Shioyu and go with that comp all the way into late game into maybe just a traditional Jade comp with Karma as a carry instead. So honestly, a very, very good position here for Kaiser. He has a chance for a Morello possibly. He has a Jewel Lotus already. So really a player that I think can almost guarantee to be in the top 4 as long as he finds those upgrades with Shioyu and Nico on time later in the game.
Yeah, this is about as good a start as any as you can get from this game 1 going into day 2. As we mentioned, it's the top 16 players that make it through today, so only the top quarter, as you mentioned earlier, Panda. So you have to be, like you say, real sweaty. You have to, every single game today of the 6 needs to be like it's your last. You need to be playing it hard and fast for this one. And we can see the economy tab on the right-hand side of your screen, chat. You can see the range of different economies right now. Kaiser obviously win streaking, so you kind of anticipate that they're going to be on a lower gold amount because they're going to be trying to level early, maybe roll, maintain the win streak, and power through to the later stages of the game. But anything that kind of speaks to you there, Panda, because this is a great little widget. You can see the levels of everyone as well.
Yeah, right here, looking at Juso's board, going for the Olaf suicide strategy throughout stage 2. leans into the Metabolic Accelerator, the Augment pickup with a 5 loss streak instead. Not too bad of a loss streak either, still above 70 HP, but has to now find a way to stabilize this board and hopefully not bleed throughout all of his stage as well, because then he's going to be put into a dangerous position and really has to decide what he wants to go for. The Augment is a generic one. It's just healing him, just every single round, so it doesn't lead him into a specific comp just yet. We'll see if he goes for Scale Scorn, if he goes into Mirage, for example.
Yeah, and we got an Augment choice here. It does go for Pandora's, and they have a lot of items on the bench. They're going to be able to... It's a build your Olaf right now. They're going to be able to select whatever they want for this Olaf and itemize it perfectly. They might even be able to pick up a Spat at some point as well. Do you think... I mean, sometimes people go Assassin Olaf. Sometimes they just go, like, I guess, a more traditional Scale Scorn Olaf, and they don't necessarily make him Assassin. What do you think is the stronger option right now?
Well, the 2-star Olaf, I think, is the strongest one at this point in the game, and he's found it. Yeah. So very, very good, start for Juso, considering he probably has suicided this Olaf the entirety of Stage 2, seeing the positioning here. Already building right away, had that Cloak open. Cloak is going to be the best component usually for Scale Scorn, because you want to build things like Runons, you want to build things like Ionic Spark, for example. So honestly, a very good start, as long as he's able to continue finding these natural shops with Scale Scorn units and has a good projection for 3-starring both Olaf and Diana going into Stage 4.
And doing decently well, even though he is on this loss streak. He's actually doing maybe too well against this Kaiser's comp right now. I think Kama's got enough in the tank to kill off Juso here, but that was surprisingly close when you look at near enough top board. Well, actually, yeah, top board, right, compared to bottom board. But something I wanted to jump back and loop around back to, Panda, was the Metabolic Accelerator, as we were mentioning, because we saw yesterday Joshi-chan actually took Metabolic, and they ended up being in a situation where they were on about 6 health, and they went from being potentially 7th to getting, I think, 3rd place in that lobby, and it was because of that additional health that they're healing from that Metabolic. So yeah, it's not like a combat augment, it's not going to improve your power, but it can do enough to hold on long enough for you to get an extra couple rounds in and just make that push to a higher position in the lobby.
A very good position for Safo as well. Start of Stage 3, finds the Shio-Yu, finds the Nico already, has Electrocharge, a great synergistic augment for Jade and for these beefy units in general, and already has the Gadget Expert Anivia as well. Ideally wants to find some upgrades. That's really what he's missing here and why he might still be losing some rounds, but very, very fortunate to have found pretty much the entire setup for a Jade comp at the start of Stage 3. I mean, so early to find this already.
Yeah, this is looking really, really good for Safo, but they're going to have to be careful because we know that there are some other Jade players in the lobby, but Qetzer here already with the Deja, and we know even if you get an early Deja, sometimes it's a little bit of a bait. Deja doesn't always perform so well in these early stages of the lobby, but once Deja gets powered up, she bangs. So keep
Nico
eyes
here
on them.
On the carousel, picked up by annieconda. We also see a Corki with a Rod, which can be okay, can be built into Rage Blade or Gunblade in some cases as well. Or you can just sell it off if you really not looking for that trainer comp whatsoever. Xayah, of course, not really as attractive as she used to be in past patches, where obviously Xayah was incredibly strong and the guild Xayah comp was running rampant across ladder and in tournaments and really all over the place. Now, not so much of an attractive pickup.
Yeah, and I also saw Juso there grabbing the cape as well off the carousel, so they're going to be able to make that Bloodthirster on their Olaf as well. So, like we said, they're going to get the items that they wish for, but they actually didn't end up making it. I'm 100% sure they got a cloak off of the...
Ionic Spark was a pickup instead, and I do think it's probably a better option right now. Olaf, being already 2-star, maybe doesn't need as much of the shielding right now because there aren't that many threats. Still Stage 3 DPS for most units. Isn't really, something that you're scared of your Olaf just dying before he can get his work done. Whereas the Ionic Spark, Diana, especially the weakness of backlines in Stage 3 still, means that the Assassin element from Diana, I think, is going to be a bit stronger as a carry for this Stage 3.
Yeah, and Annie might be coming in with the Legends comp. I know some people in chat want to see it. Chat, let's see if we can give it to you. Look at this monstrous volley. We can't even see his health bar. It might be going down as slowly as that timer is on the clock. Diana's desperately trying to dispatch a volley and just about does it. And he's still got some left in the tank, but Skana v Karma. Skana takes the victory there for Juso. And now they're turning this loss streak into a win streak. Do you think that was a little bit preemptive here? Does Juso even want to be turning that loss streak into a win streak yet?
I think the moment he found Olaf 2, it's a position where you say, if I'm still losing and they're good losses, that's fine by me. You're still getting a lot of gold because you have a 6 or 7 or an 8 or lose streak. You have Metabolic Accelerator as well. But the moment you do win, you have to turn around and now you have to hope for a win streak instead and try and get gold that way and maybe find some upgrades, maybe roll a bit to kind of try and guarantee that. So it's that sweet spot where you don't really care if you win or lose, just depending on what happens, you end up changing your game plan a tiny bit in stage 3.
Yeah, and we've got Mandu here who actually opted for the Cyber Makes Augment Best Friends chat for anyone who didn't get that one, because me and Makes are, of course, best friends. And going up against Seppo here, this is a very strong-looking Senna. I think Mandu's, we have some very strong boards that are going to do well to transition later on in the later stage of this game. And Mandu here got a Xiaoyu and a Deja, doesn't want to take any of them. Do you think that's a bit of a misplay? Maybe he could have picked up the Xiaoyu just as a nice carry, or tank carry for now?
It's kind of sometimes hard to fit dragons in stage 3 if you're trying to play for trainer as well. If you're already having good results and have a win streak going, you feel like you're okay just using Senna as a carry for now and not really disrupting what seems to be working. Also, if you're scouting, we've seen quite a few Jade players, so getting to show you could grief those players, but I think it might be just too risky to try and go into that direction when there's already so many players trying to contest that angle.
For sure. And I'm looking at a little bit of a disparity here on the right-hand side. Looking at this widget, we got annieconda. You've got, the people at the top of the board, obviously level 7, but then annieconda's also gone to level 7, still loss streaking, but maintaining a good amount of gold. When you compare Annie's position to the other players in the lobby, 3 or 4 spots just above her, Annie's in this particular... sorry, I keep calling Annie her. I mean to say him. It's just Annie keeps throwing me. Annie is going to be in a position here where they've leveled to level 7. They're going to be trying to find a later stage composition. It actually even pushes for 8 now, but has no gold to even buy anything additional to supplement this composition. They're running 4 Tempest, 3 Dragonmancer, 2 Guardian. It's potentially unideal apart from this AO Shin here, who is going to do... If they can get a cast off with the Zeeks, they're going to do an incredible amount of damage.
The frontline dummies able to add a little bit more frontline, a little bit more stall, but is it enough at this point for this Aoshin to cast? Even once with Archangels, JG, it might be enough to clear out most of these boards, at least the more dangerous backline units that are doing most of the DPS against this comp. But the cast comes in, it looks like it will be enough. Volibear still very much healthy. Braum as well with some fire, and the Dragon Skull as well. So if he's able to get some more natural upgrades, being level 8 earlier than everyone, 4-2 already level 8, if he finds maybe those 2 more Aoshins, he's going to be able to have a very strong board.
Absolutely. This could be Annie's turnaround here for them. Now, second win, I feel like that's got to obviously be the obvious choice there. Does have the option for a reroll, though it's a silver augment. Realistically, what are you going to find that's much better when you've got second win there? Allows you to get that additional time to get the Aoshin cast off, which you're just trying to buy time here for Aoshin in this composition.
Not just that, but every single augment in the 3 choices here all synergize with each other. Second win, when you have more armor because of makeshift armor, that means that that extra HP is even more beneficial because it will last longer because you have more armor to work with. The frontline dummies get the makeshift armor as well as a second win from the healing on the dummies. So overall, it's just all working out to having a stronger frontline. The damage is covered. You have Aoshin, you have him well itemized. All you need now is a good frontline and hopefully a Xiaoyu that doesn't jump at your Aoshin as soon as the fight starts.
Yeah. Assassin Xiaoyu is not one you see very often, but is very, very powerful. Aoshin trying to put out the DPS here. Obviously, as units start to die on the board, Aoshin gets stronger on a particular focus fire target damage, but not enough. Too many targets left on the board, and Xiaoyu doesn't go down. Annieconda losing that round, and now they got to be in a very desperate position. They don't have any gold. They can't roll. They are level 8, sure, but there's no use being level 8 if you got no gold to find the units that you need, and you got to sink at least another 20 gold to get this Aoshin too.
Not just that, but there are at least 2 assassin players. We saw the Xiaoyu assassin there. We saw the Olaf player earlier that had Diana that can jump into this Aoshin directly. So no matter how strong your frontline might be, no matter if you have dummies on that front, also trying to absorb some of that damage at the start of the fight, if there are assassin players, you have to be extra careful because you can just outright lose the fight no matter how strong you are, simply because of that, bad matchup.
Yeah, Absolutely. The assassins, it's always the danger that you got to be taken care of. But these players, they're going to be scouting boards. They're going to be looking out for it. And now we see Mandu's very strong, solid comp here. Still running the Senna too. Hasn't been able to find the Corki yet. But can they deal with this Aoshin? We know Senna's puts out a lot of damage, even in the stage 4. And I think unless Aoshin can absolutely just murder these units, almost does. But no, Annie's going to take another loss here, and they are in a very, very compromised position. Could potentially be the first 8th of the day. They've got to hold on that a little bit longer, allow the rest of the lobby to come down and meet them at that lower HP point of this lobby.
That's a dangerous thing with the Aoshin comp. If you're trying to go into it with very little HP, you don't have that buffer to work with to try and really find that stable top 4 board. You might just bleed out and go 8th in the process like we're seeing here with annieconda. So hopefully he can find some more upgrades. Hopefully he can find some good matchups and stay alive in this game, because he is currently 8th place by a pretty big margin as well. 15 HP separating him and Qetzer at 7th.
Yeah, this is a... It's a difficult one here for Annie. I wonder, let's throw back a little bit, right? Let's go back to the past. Annie chose to level 8. And they spent all of their gold in order to do that. Something like 50, 60 gold in order to do that. Do you think that that was maybe the wrong decision, considering their board is low star units? They don't really have enough frontline for that Aoshin? Or do you think it was the right call in a bad situation?
It's hard to tell, because I think he put in a Lilia when he did level up to 8. If he had put in a Yasuo, a Bard, a Soraka, something that gave him like a trait that really benefited the board quite a bit more, it might have been the right play. But it's really hard to tell. It depends on the natural chops, of course, and really it's tough to really call that a bad or a good play at this point. But we're seeing Mirage here from Qetzer, and still Mandu with that Senna carry seems to be working out. 1 cost. No problem whatsoever, all the way into stage 4, almost stage 5 now, and still win streaking. A 12 win streak now here for this Senna carry.
But here comes the Yasuo. He may be level 1, he may be unitemized, but his utility is still top notch. And he holds on just long enough to annoy the Senna, prevent Senna from getting too much DPS out on the rest of the board. And Deja is going to flap through that Senna, cleave her in 2. And look at Qetzer's board here. Got the Mirage and the Cav Hearts. Those are both very, very good when you're playing a Mirage Deja comp.
And for Mandu, this loss is kind of the, it comes at the right time. It's kind of, he now knows that the Senna can't carry him all the way into the end of this game. He has to find a transition, but he's saving up so much gold and he has so much HP to work with that he's happy to keep this board and then transition probably at level 9 and go for a full-on legendary board and try and go not just for a top 4, but for maybe a first place in this game 1 of day 2.
Yeah, and Annie here got a couple items on the bench, going to be seeing where they're opting to use them. Even has the Thief Glove, throws it on Zoe. Double locket, probably not the best, but maybe Soraka will at least live long enough to get a cast off, which is a little bit helpful. But Annie has to win this round to remain in this lobby. The Aoshin, can it cast? It's halfway there. It's about to go off, but the front line is dwindling for Annie. There's nothing left in the tank. Here comes the big Aoshin. Is it enough to chunk through that? Nunu, I don't think so just yet, but Deja goes down. That's vital here for Annie, and they're going to be able to live this extra round now. They're still in this thing.
Just barely enough, it looks like, and that's without even having slotted in the Ornn, having to play a placeholder Tahm Kench for now, hoping with the extra gold he'll get in this next PvE round to try and find the Ornn to get at the very least the Tempest 4 online. That's a lot of gold, but instead,
didn't take it.
A third item, it looks like, for that Aoshin, or just a tank item, rather, because there aren't really great options. Actually, never mind. Shojin is here. There was that sword on the Soraka. So perfect item here now, allowing to cast faster for this Aoshin, which is really what he needed. He has the damage. He just needed to cast a tiny bit faster, because sometimes it was extremely close. His frontline dies, and then just then he's able to cast.
Yeah, and Annie's rolling every single round here. At this stage, I don't even know what they're trying to find. Like, obviously, the Aoshin would be fantastic, but even getting a 2-star Lulu would be great. Getting a 2-star Tahm Kench would be fantastic. But they just don't have any gold to survive, and every round is as if it's their last right now, because it potentially is. But Qetzer's coming down closer and closer at 16 HP themselves, and we're going to be seeing very shortly who Annie's going to be playing off against. This is something that I love, by the way, Panda, about this Shrine round, is you have obviously the allotted time for the Shrine, and then you have like another 30-40 seconds to just sit there and wait. And if you have no gold, it's just time just waiting and waiting to see what your fate may be. So Annie's got to be going through the motions on this one.
See if this Silas with 3 mage in is going to be enough to tank. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a mirror match here. Jedusor also running the Aushin board, very similar, but instead with a trainer variant, not so many legendaries, but has the Ornn and has that Tempest 4 online, and a Rise that has some items as well thanks to the Thieves buff. So we'll see which Aushin ends up casting first, and if one is able to snipe the other, it looks like it's not going to be quite enough. The second cast comes in, the better timing for Jedusor, and he can take a hit, and it might be the final one. Not quite 2 HP for him.
Yo, and he got baited there by the Shojin because they cast earlier, which meant there were more units on the board for their opponent, so they didn't quite get as good of a cast. Obviously, Aoshin chat, the fewer units there are on the board, the more focused that AoE damage is really going to be. So that was a little bit unfortunate there for Andy. That could have gone either way.
Here we're seeing the problem for Qetzer. Has 6 Mirage, has a very good board for Cavalier as well, but has a 1-star Yasuo and has a 1-star Deja, which is something we're talking about. If you're not able to find these upgrades, as the comp is too contested, you're going to be in big trouble, and you might end up getting bought forward despite it being a strong comp on paper.
Yeah, 2 1-star Yasuos here. They are the twins that you wouldn't expect from the Yasuo. Where's the Yon? But they're going to be going in, doing a lot of utility here, trying to distract the assassins away from the Deja, and so far doing a decent job. Big knockups here from the Yasuo. Deja trying desperately to cast off as well. Not the best angle there on that one, and I think that Chuso is going to maybe just have enough. No. I beg to differ. The Deja's going to hang on there. Just absolutely no DPS going out on the Deja, so just gets free reign.
Chuso should have won this fight in most cases, but
yes,
all the positioning was favoring Qetzer here. Diana jumped to the other side, was kind of stalled out by the Yasuo on the left there. Olaf ran into the Nunu and was being targeted by the Deja the entire fight, which was why he couldn't really do too much and died pretty soon after that fight started. So I think that board was definitely strong on Chuso's side and definitely the matchup as well, but all the positioning worked out perfectly for Qetzer here.
I like as well that they're actually opting, instead of 5 Cav, they're actually opting for double Yasuo, which just goes to show just how useful they feel that this utility is of the Yasuo. And we saw it in the last round, it did a pretty good job. But now this looks like a formidable opponent that they've got to face off against. Deja gets Zephyred here. The 2-star Siphon of Mandu is going to cleave through these Cavs, but now it's got a tango with the Nunu. Bard ults left, right, and center. Deja has a very good angle here against the whole of Mandu's board, but now the Siphon comes in. Chomp, nom nom, done. That's it. Nunu ain't the only one with a bite, baby.
And that's the problem with Deja. It has so many natural predators in this set, Siphon being one of them, of course, alongside Assassins. It's a very strong backline carrier, one that is a bit of a glass cannon in most variations of Mirage. And Qetzer, in the end, gets taken down in 7th with a -14 hit in that last fight. Chuso's still alive at 15, and then a big gap to the rest of the top 5 players.
Yeah, this is similar to some of the lobbies that we had yesterday, where we had this massive disparity between the top and the bottom of the lobby. And when you're in that position where you're on your last life and the rest of the next closest player is double your HP, it's like, well, I've got to win a lot of rounds in a row. But Chuso wins this shop here, gets the Olaf 3 Cavalier.
We tend to see Cavalier Yasuo. In this case, Olaf is getting a bit of a protection as well. Not quite QSS. He can still be CC'd, and that might be problematic for this Olaf, depending on what comps he faces off against. But at least it fulfills a somewhat similar role to QSS, being a defensive item when you pretty much already have all the damage you need with that Runans, with the Skillscorn 4, and with the Olaf 3 especially.
Yeah, I want to see this Olaf and what they can do to Lelouch's composition here. Running the Corki Jade, which is an interesting one of my favorites on ladder. Let's see how it can do here. Has the 2-star Corki, but only the 1-star Xiao Yu. And Nomzi's firing the wrong way. Doesn't hit the Olaf. Olaf is just going to have free reign here, but now it's Corki's turn. Xiao Yu's knocking this Olaf up, preventing the auto attacks, which is going to diminish that Bloodthirster that bit more, but
Cavalier
hangs on. Cavalier charges into combat.
Olaf is not really a champion we consider to be agile. He hits hard, yes. He feels like a tank, yes, but he's not agile. But Cavspat gives him that, rushes right into the Corki before it could fire off another cannon and kill him off. We did see the problem with not having QSS. The CC from Xiaoyu made him slow down. It stops really the Bloodthirster proccing as well, so stops the shields from coming in and leaves Olaf slightly vulnerable. There's a small window where he can be just killed off by burst damage with the Corki, but in the end, barely managed to win it.
Yeah, and I love these battles that you get in TFT where it can come down to the tiniest, like these fractions of differences where you have this Olaf that has the Cavspat, is able to charge that distance and just make up that distance between Olaf and the Corki, and that makes all the difference between winning and losing that battle, which saves you that 10 to 15 HP and allows you to fight another day. And you can see Olaf here just absolutely butchering through Sappho's backline. And yeah, they've got to contend with this assassin, Xiaoyu, and I think it might actually get the best of Olaf here. They've got too many battles to take on. I think the Xiaoyu is going to have enough here for him, and Chuso just barely gets ticked away at that, down to 8 HP.
Problem there, of course, was the Zephyr coming in as well on the Olaf, slowing down that DPS to start off the fight. So two players definitely have Zephyrs, so positioning matters so much more. This lobby actually going to be mattering a lot with positioning. You have two assassin players with the Xiaoyu and this comp here as well. You have two Zephyrs, so players have to be scouting, have to be keeping track of where to position and to make some last-minute changes before the fights start.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've got the loot goblin, the treasure goblin. That's what we call it. We got the treasure goblin going on here. JG, I mean it'll do. Don't really. I guess you could throw it on Diana or something. Though this composition is definitely lacking a frozen heart. That would be a very nice addition to Chuso here to just slow down the.
One more Diana has the 3 costs, holding them, trying to get slightly better odds.
News.
Look at it's not going to be able. He has a natural roll, but can't.
Oh, there it is. You got to sell something, baby.
But there's not really a swap worth making here, I think. Still going to go for it, it looks like.
Goes for it anyway. Okay, so the composition from a trait standpoint is, I guess, maybe going to be slightly weaker here, but Diana 3 should absolutely melt through this composition here from Kaiser, who's definitely lost a lot of HP since we last checked in with them. They were win streaking through the early stages of this game, but now this Olaf is going to be making light work of Kaiser's defenses. Shyvana gets the ult off, and it does smother Olaf in flames. And now Shyvana is going to cast again. This Marilla Olaf just hasn't been able to auto-attack. Just got completely locked down. And that's going to be it. Chuso's going to be out, going out in 6th place in this lobby.
And not able to get that final kill on the Gnar either. So very unfortunate for him, despite getting that final upgrade on Diana, having to sell a Shen in the process and playing a 1-star Shen. It still wasn't enough. And we're seeing it here, Scale Scorn without Assassin Olaf and without a Scale Scorn 6 vertical trait. It's maybe not just, it's just not the strongest comp. It's not able to consistently top 4. It's going to be very lobby dependent in this case.
Yeah, we saw Scale Scorn Assassin go first in our game from game 1 yesterday. However, day 2 didn't quite hit the mark and ends up going 6th. But the rest of our lobby now, a couple of them in this firing line potentially could be seeing our 5th place very, very soon. Mandu there getting a Bard 2 as well, so shoring up their comp. But now we got Jedusor versus Kaiser here. Decent Shroud doesn't hit the Aoshin though.
This is of course the better Aoshin that we saw. Annieconda got eliminated earlier, but I think it's still not going to be quite strong enough. The cast does come in though. It's going to be enough. The frontline bought enough time there for the cast to come through. It looked a bit sketchy in the middle of that fight there, but still enough to win. Kaiser not eliminated though. Down to 3 HP, still in contention to try and top 4, and he does because Lelouch gets taken out in 5th place.
That's it, right? We were talking today, we were mentioning it a couple times on the broadcast. Yesterday we had 120 players that we started with. Today we're starting with 64. Tomorrow we begin with 16. You've got to get top 4 every single game today if you want to be qualifying. And this is a good start for, take a look at Kaiser, Sappho, Jedusor, and Mandu here and see how they are shaping up for the rest of the day. This has got to be a nice way to start off your afternoon.
The 6 Shapeshifter comp. You can't really play this very often. You have to have the right augments for it and the right comp especially. No Nidalee, of course, in this version of Shapeshifters now. Very different to what it used to be a few patches ago, but we'll see if it'll be enough.
You gotta let it go, Panda. You gotta let it go.
That is some bad news here for Kaiser. We'll see what the Siphon ults look like, especially for now, just chomping on the Swain that isn't really doing much other than buying time for this Shyvana to maybe cast again, but already being taken down, able to
goes.
shapeshift, thankfully, and gets that extra HP.
And down she comes, crashing down, but she's getting CC'd a double time there. And now it's everyone versus Shyvana. She's not going to get another cast off that's going to be consequential here. And Kaiser, they're going to go out in fourth. And Sappho won 1 HP, lost that round. Kaiser could have, well, I mean, I say easily could have gone third there. If they'd been able to hang on even just one more round, could have been looking at a third finish. That could have been a different story entirely. But still, top 4. Kaiser's got to be happy. They finished yesterday in the 33rd position, so a nice, decent halfway point in the pack of 64, and doing all right today to get top 4.
Yeah, the German player ends up 4th. We have 3 different countries represented in this top 3. Spain, of course, for Sappho, France for Jedusor, and it will be Italy for Mandu or unlucky Hamtaro, as we're seeing in game here. The Talon 2 upgrade comes in. Sappho trying to transition the board here. Puts in the Nico, has still that Shiryu assassin that really is doing so well. Isn't really an emblem that's talked about a lot with Shiryu, but I've tried it many times and it's always worked really well because of how Shiryu's kit worked and how he's able to just kind of 1v1 any backline carry and kill him off pretty quickly.
Yeah, just got to be careful with the positioning when it comes down to assassins, and because you have the assassin Shiryu, technically you have the front line of Shiryu, but they're over in the back line. So this Anivia is going to probably be in more of a danger point, but Shiryu jumps straight into the back line, managing to cleave through the defense of Jedusor here, but on the wrong side of the board, doesn't hit the Aoshin. Aoshin's going to get 1 cast off. Can they get a second? I don't think so. I think Sappho is going to be able to hold on for another round. But Shiryu, what are you doing? You're on the wrong units. There's going to be a second Aoshin charge, and it's going to go directly onto these 2 units. This is enough damage. Sappho's going to go out there, and they are going to make it 3rd in this lobby. I wanted to say they've got such good combat augments, but that doesn't matter when your assassin Shiryu is on the wrong side of the board.
Ended up just picking the wrong side there, wasn't able to pivot that positioning in time and loses 100% because of it. If Shiryu would have jumped onto that Aoshin, the fight is completely different. Aoshin probably doesn't even get to cast even once. But going into this final fight, it will be Aoshin versus Siphon. Aoshin, in theory, should be in trouble if Siphon's able to predict the right side and able to jump onto that Aoshin right away. Mandu hoping for that conclusion. It's not going to be the case. Oh, never mind. Aoshin is kind of towards the middle, pretty near to Siphon. If Siphon is able to have the challenger AI and
Siphon do it. No. Kind of. It's going in the direction, but where will they go next? I think this is going to be a good charge. Right over to the Aoshin. Chomps the wrong target, though, but there's still just so much on the board for Mandu Panda. This is an easy win on this round, but we'll have to see what Jedusor can do before the next one.
Took him a few dashes. I think he dashed through the Aoshin like 2 or 3 times, but finally able to chomp him in the end. It looks like the board is just a little bit too beefy for this Aoshin to deal with. Even after that first cast, most of the board was still left alive. So I think there's just too much HP to chew through for the Aoshin. And again, you're at this point where the moment that Siphon has that one ult that goes directly towards Aoshin, the fight's over. So it's just really tough here for the French player.
Yeah, and something that I want to kind of throw to as well is the fact that Jedusor is running that Tiny Titans, getting that additional 30 health as their second augment. So that, I mean, we look at these augments that are just giving you that extra HP. We see Metabolic as well. In these games, it could be all the difference between hanging on and going 2nd place or ending up finishing 3rd, 4th, 5th potentially as well. So, you know, sometimes these non-combat augments can be really good at just holding you on that extra little bit. I'm going to get 2-star Zoe now for Mandu as well, so they are getting stronger and stronger. What can Jedusor do to counter it?
Zoe 2-star for both player. Jedusor has a very good frontline split. This is kind of what you want to do against a Siphon. You want to make sure your frontline is split into 3 parts, so Siphon has a chance to not even go into the backline whatsoever. When he gets his first dash off, he might just dash from one side to the other of the frontline, and that buys so much time for Aoshin to cast. Positioning comes in. Aoshin once again, fairly central. Siphon has a fairly good chance of jumping towards this Aoshin once again. We'll see if that ends up being the case here.
Yeah, and the Jaime getting just shot there from the Zephyr. That's not what you want to happen. Big Tempest damage coming down. The double barred ults. Everyone stalled in the middle of the field. But now Siphon says, okay, Aoshin, you're mine now. I got you this time. And that's gonna be it. Jedusor goes down. Mandu takes our first lobby of the day, game 1.
And great placement from him playing off of that Siphon. I think one of the strongest carries in this set and in this patch specifically, especially against these